إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونعوذ بك من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. So we bear witness, there's no one worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the last and final messenger. There be no messengers after them, after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And also we send our blessings and salutations upon Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala wa ajma'een. Wallahi, my brothers and sisters, as I always say, if it wasn't for the Sahaba, me and you wouldn't have enjoyed this religion. What we enjoy of this religion and the benefit that we take is because of the hard work and the effort of Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala wa ajma'een. And according to the ulama, as you all know, you're aware, we're in the month of Dhul Hijjah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالْفَجْرِ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu mentions that these ayahs are particularly mentioning the days of Dhul Hijjah. There is no other better days in the whole entire year, not even the days of Ramadan. The nights of Ramadan, the last 10 nights, are the blessed nights than any other nights of the whole year. When it comes to the days, even the days of Ramadan are not as blessed as the days of Dhul Hijjah. And that's what we are in. And so make the most of it as much as you can. If you can fast, and you can make one of the things that the ulama said, to do takbir, to do tahleel, and to do tamheed. And this is something that we do every time. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. And something that the Sahaba, Umar radiallahu anhu said that I would go in the market and say this loudly so that people could hear this. And I'm not saying when you go to West Point and keep on saying Allahu Akbar, the next thing you know, you might be in the police station and you might be looking for your family member to come and take you out. So don't do that. But you know, inshallah, as much as you can, remember Allah wherever you are, and especially in these days. And if you can't fast, the young ones who can fast, fast. The best time to fast. Fasting is one of the best things to do anyways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, As-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bih. So this is something that Allah says, this fasting is for me and I will reward you for that. And what other days you could fast, which is the best 10 days of the month. So anyways, let's get into the seerah inshallah. So some questions, as we have snakes. Although the real snakes are not halal, so don't go and start finding the snakes. I've heard Australia is very popular. You might be lucky to actually find a couple of snakes in your backyard as well. So don't slaughter them and start eating them. And he said, I did Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and I slaughtered them. Well, those snakes are not halal, but these ones, you know, they are halal inshallah, and you can have them as much as you like. So I'm going to ask some questions inshallah, and hopefully you can answer them and you can get as much as snakes, and these don't bite as well, so you can eat them. So I'm going to open it, and you know, back in my country, the Maulana has to, he eats first, and he says first I have to eat it and see if it's halal. So by the way, when he starts eating, there's nothing left. And he says, Alhamdulillah, it was halal, so next time you can buy it for yourself. So I'm not that kind of a Maulana, so inshallah I don't eat snakes anyways, even if it's the real ones or the fake ones. So the first question is, the two people who came, who were sent by Negus. So Negus is Najashi. So that's, we all know, the Habashi king, and he's called Najashi. So who are the two people that he sent? Who was the leader of the army, and who was the commander of the army? So for kids, this is a very easy question. I can see one of my students up here, mashallah, Abdullah is here. And this is one of my favorite students. It's good to see you, mashallah. Abdullah, who were those two people who were sent in the army of the Najashi, of the Habashis, to take over Yemenis? I knew that would be the answer, but I was still trying. So, anyways, anyone else? Yes?
I know one of them, I think it's Abraha.
Abraha, that's right. You can have a snake, whichever color you like. The other one also starts with the A. I think Abu Karim wants to give the answer. You can give the answer, inshallah. Karim can have a snake. The second one is Ariyat. So Ariyat was the leader of the army, and they come. And who was the leader of Yemen who was running away? And he died and he sank in the sea and he drowned himself. Yes? Zunawas, that's right. You want a snake? You can only take one, you only answer one question. Or you pick the right color. So, then who was the first person when Abraha, actually what was the name of the church that he built? I actually gave you the name last. So there's a name for it. So the name of the church that was built by Abraha. No one? Okay, I'll give the answer. I have to snake for myself. Police. And so who was the first guy who actually came to fight for the pride of the Arabs to stop Abraha to enter from Arabian region? Yes? Abu Bakr wasn't even born at that time. He would have definitely fought for the pride of Arabs if he was around. Suleiman. No, Abdul Muttalib was in Mecca. We're actually entering Arabia, so we're coming from Yemen. So these are the early parts. Yes? No. Zu Nafar. So Zu Nafar was the first man who encountered them, so that's the second snake for me. And then there's another guy who also fights them. And who's this guy? A couple of more minutes and then we'll go into the story, inshallah. No one? This is Nawfal ibn Habib. And he is from the tribe of Al-Khathum. And he's the one who also becomes the capture, and they take him in the army and they capture him and they make him a prisoner. And so they come to a city, and I said this city were the ones who backstabbed the Arabs. And so when Abraha entered, this was the first city, and they said to Abraha that you are our king, and we will do whatever you like, and they gave him a man as well. And this man accompanied them, and he said, I will show you where Kaaba is. What's the name of the city? No one? Anyways, we'll start the story, inshallah. The name of the city is Taif, and the man they give is Abu Rigal. So now, so very quickly, what happens is, just to recap, as you know, the Christians were killed, and the Caesar was very angry. Caesar is Qaisar. He was very angry. He said, my army is far away. So go to Najashi, and this is Zuz, and go to the Najashi, and he will help you, and he will send an army with you. And so this is Dawth ibn Zoshan, and this is the man who's the only one survivor who runs away from the ditch, and he goes all the way to Caesar. Now the army comes, as you know, making it very short. Ariyat was a tyrant leader, and they said we are going to have a duel. And in the story, one of the stories, the narration of Ibn Ishaq is also, which I did not mention, so I'll mention it today. They say Abraha is a cheat. And also we did speak about that Abraha's name was Ashram, which was the slit one, because Ariyat was a strong man, he was a very strong guy. And he took him straight away when the duel started. He sliced through him, he went for his neck, but he could not get him, and he went through his nose, and he cut his nose half open. And so after that, Ibn Ishaq mentions in his seerah that he said to his slave, if I am losing, then you shoot an arrow and kill Aryad. But with the story that I mentioned last week, I did not use Ibn Ishaq, so I'm actually going with Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir does not mention about the slave. But there is also a narration where Abraha tells his slave, if I'm losing and if I'm about to die, then you kill Aryad. So we all know Aryad dies, and now, as you know, Najashi was very angry and he wanted to take revenge, and he said, how come you killed the leader that I made and you become the leader? How did you plan? How did you even think about doing or planning a coup and taking over this country? And so he said that I will come and I will take your hair, I will cut your hair, and I will step on the feet, or my feet will step on the land of Yemen and the dust of Yemen. And so he threatens him. And we say that he cuts his hair off, shaves his head off, and then also he sends the dirt, and he says your pledge can be kept, you don't have to come here. And he also builds this palace, Qulays. Ibn Ishaq mentions Bilqis and her palace, and that is in the region of Sana'a, which is Yemen. And that was, so when Abraha is building this church, he takes the rubies and the jewels and the gold and everything from everywhere, and he makes this like a really beautiful structure. One of the other things you need to also know is that we spoke about the Yemenis in the time of Zu Nawaz. They were sorcerers and they were fortune tellers and they were into magic. There was one of the stories say when the church was built, there was a man and his wife who were practicing magicians, and they were 60 cubit long, and they were buried under that church, and their name was Qu'aib and his wife. So Qu'aib and they were buried over there. And you all know from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says Adam alayhi salam was 60 dirham, and that's actually, or he was so tall and he was big, and this is how we are going to be in Jannah as well. So the ones who are complaining about being short, I'm one of them, and we always complain that Allah did not make me tall. But you know, we have to, alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. But in Jannah, I will be 60 cubit tall, inshallah. I'll be very tall. So the ones who actually looked at me like this, I'll be actually eyeballing them in Jannah, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us from the Jama'ah of Jannah. So yes, if you are complaining of really being short, you'll be tall in Jannah, inshallah. So, having said that, this is where they're buried, underneath the church. And so, it's a majestic structure. And we learned about Ahlul Nasi, the people who used to change the sacred months. And we said in the eyes of Allah, 4 months are sacred. So Ahlul Nasi, what they did, we spoke about, the Arabs were very busy in fighting. There was some kind of things happening in their lives. There were some battles happening. Ahlul Nasi were the people who were allowed, and they were the ones who changed the month. So Shaykh Salih Muhammad Salih al-Uthaymeen mentions the month they would change was the month of Safar. So they would bring Safar first and Muharram later. And sometimes if there was no fights, they were happy to stay with Muharram and Safar afterwards. But normally this is what they would do. And we spoke about the 4 months. So maybe I can try a kid, inshallah, for 2 snakes. What are the sacred months? The sacred 4 months in the calendar of Islam. And we spoke about the ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says when He created the land and He created the skies, that's when He created these months as well. This is even as before the time of Adam. He knew these were the sacred months. 3 are together, that's the clue, and 1 is scattered. So 1 is not with the other 3. And maybe I can give you another clue. 1 is July of Islamic calendar, and the other one is October, November, and December. I can't get, actually sorry, November, December and January. I can't give you any other clue now. November, December, January, and the other ones are July. Yes, so what's the November of Islamic calendar? Muharram is January. Zul-Qa'dah, yes. And what's the December? Zul-Hijjah, the month we are in. And what's the July? The 7th month. Rajab. Ramadan is September. It's the 9th month. So this is how we teach the kids how to learn the Islamic months as well. So when they are learning the Gregorian months as well, they can learn the Islamic months as well with that. But mashallah, no one has learned it like that. I'm the only one who's always refreshing my memory. But anyways, now going to the story is that Ahlul Nasir were the people, and from that one person really got angry and he defecated. He went in the night, he sneaked in to this church, Qulais, and in the courtyard he defecated, he collected that and he rubbed it all over the walls of gold and rubies and pearls, because he said, how come the Habashis, the Ethiopians come and dictate to the Arabs that what we are going to do? We are never going to... See, understand this. The Arabs were idol worshippers, they were worshipping idols, asnam and kada wa kada, but still they had the love for the Kaaba. They had the ihtiram for the Kaaba. They had the hurma for the Kaaba. So they wanted to always respect Kaaba, no matter what happens. MashaAllah, good to see Abdurrahman. So, having said that, they had this love for the house of Allah, so that's why they were very angry. And so they went, and one of these men sneaked in, and that's when Abraha got very angry. So he came with this army. So we said the first person when he entered was this Arabs. Arabs are not going to let this army go away. We said it was 20,000 strong men. Arabs had never seen an elephant in their lives before. And this army came with an elephant. It had a trainer as well. It was sent by Najashi. And we gave the name of the trainer as well. So who can remember the name of the trainer for 3 snakes? Yes. Mahmud was the elephant itself. Someone said Unais from there. Anis or Unais was that name. You can have 3 snakes. You're on? I'll have yours. So this was the trainer, and Arabs have never heard. See, and also I want to give you something that you can learn. If any time there's an elephant coming to attack you, in India, in the region of the time of Mughals, when the elephant would come to attack, they knew how to scare the elephant. And this is scientifically proven. If an elephant comes, they're scared of cats. So if you have cats, look at the structure. This is qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the region when the elephants would come, they would bring cats to make the elephants run away. But subhanAllah, the Arabs didn't know about this. And so that's why Mahmud got all the way to Kaaba. Imagine if Zulafar knew about the cat. The elephant would have never come to the region. So this is something that you can actually look. This is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do wonders with little things. And this is what we're going to learn in the story today. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, طَيْرًا عَبَابِيلًا, that these structures, they were birds, only birds, how they destroyed this army of 20,000 people. So that's what we're going to learn. Yes?
I'll tell you how to do this. Like, they were holding fire rock.
That's right, mashallah. Maybe next class you can give the Seerah and I'll sit in your father's lap. I don't know if you allow me to do that. So anyways, there should be some light. I like mazah. I like to joke around all the time. My students know. I jokingly give them demerits as well. So they don't know what to do, to be sad or to be happy. So anyways, so now this is the power of Allah, that He created such a huge structure, and cats is just, as compared to what an elephant is, will not even be the size of the feet of an elephant. and that is enough to scare the elephant. And so now Zu-Nafar puts up a battle with this 20,000 army, and he cannot fight them, and he's taken a captive. And now the other guy who comes is Nawfal ibn Habib, and we said he's from the tribe of Al-Khuthum, and he puts up a fight as well, and he is the one who's captured. Now he gets to the area of Taif, and this is a very huge army coming. No one wants to fight them. Also, people are fearing their lives. It's like sometimes, you know, when we as human beings, we get scared when we look at these big armies and big people and people with a big massive stature. We just get intimidated and we cannot stand against them. It happens in our lives, and we know. And you know, in our countries, we've got these tyrants, that the countries that we come from, the leaders who are tyrants, and at times we fear our families, we fear our own lives, and that's why we can't stand in front of these tyrants. And so we become those people that are going through the process without saying anything. I mean, I'm not saying now you go and you stand in front of these tyrants, but what I'm saying, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should never lose hope. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make, and He will pave a way for us in order to come out of these situations. You know, so now they're moving into this region, Taif. When they come to Taif, Taif is already historically not very happy with Quraysh and Makkans, because they had their own structure which was like Kaaba. And you all know Allat was an idol that was actually one of the famous structures of Taif, and they worshipped Allat, and that was something they venerated that. They still went to Kaaba to do pilgrimage, but they had their own structure. And that's why when Rasulullah came to the region and he came back to Fatha Makkah, he destroyed these idols, and one of them was Allat. And so, and we know this from, the children, in our school, they teach them, probably Abdul Rahman remembers it from last year, they learned the Surah Nur, which is Lat wa Manat and Uzza. And we learn about these three idols, these three names. And this was being worshipped from the time of Nuh alayhi salam. It's actually mentioned in the Quran in Surah Nuh with these three names. So you can imagine how old these idols are. So now they say, look, we are at your service, we are your people, we will do whatever you like, and we will send our people with you in order to assist you in order to get there. And so now, this is what happens. They give this man, his name is Abu Righal. Abu Righal is a man who becomes their navigator, and he tells you, I will show you where Mecca is, I will show you where Kaaba is. And so they get to the outskirts of Mecca, and that's where Abu Righal dies. And this is the mention of Ibn Ishaq. But Ibn Kathir says he does not die. He dies with the first stone that comes down, he dies with that. But Ibn Ishaq says he dies at the border as soon as he's about to enter. But whenever he dies, there is a mention in the history of the Arabs, when the army was destroyed, after that the grave of Abu Righal was a place where they would go stone the grave, and they would go and curse the grave. And they would do la'an on the grave of Abu Righal, because they said he is the Arab who was not courageous enough, and he was the one who backstabbed us, and he showed the way to these Habashis to come where Kaaba was. So now, when they get to this stage, they see a lot of camels. They come to, Abu Righal is dead, and they see a big flock of camels, a herd of camels. So when they get there, they capture these camels. And these camels belong to none other than the Qurayshis, and 200 of those camels belong to Abdul Muttalib. And Abdul Muttalib, everyone knows over here, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out who Abdul Muttalib was. He was the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was from the family, the father, the the ancestors of Qusay ibn Kilab. And this is where the Quraysh starts. And so this is for another day, but just to give you, just the background. Another thing, the Arabs sit over here, the fathers sit over here, and they totally understand. Today we have this problem when we give the names, the surnames. The Arab had these names, they had the names of these animals, surnames. Even some Arabs, even today, like Batta. Some people have these names. And so the kids, when they listen to these names, they start laughing. And one of the names they always laugh is the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is Zainab. And whenever you say the name Zainab binti Jahash, radiallahu anha, they actually laugh at this. And this is something which is mentioned in the history that the Arabs would name their surnames and their family names would be with the animals. They would give that. And we have seen it throughout the history. Even now, and some people do not want to be called that. I mean, in our school, where we are, Batta becomes a Bata. And so really, one of the teachers, and personally myself, I didn't know this was a Batta until one of the teachers called them Batta. And I said, I thought your name was, I thought it was Bata. And so she said, yeah, that was my name, until one of the teachers said, no, your name's not Bata, it's Batta. So the ones who know what Batta means, it's a duck. So we have these names even now, and something that our kids have forgotten. And even we have the names Himar as well. In Seerah, inshallah, when we go, you will hear these names. And when I just said Usay ibn Kilab, and actually one of the great grandfathers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so these names were there. And so they were there because these animals were considered to be important in their lives, and they did and they were involved in something. And even if you look at a donkey, for example, a donkey is a very hard-working animal. It carries load and it does everything. But for today's culture, a donkey is considered, what we made, donkey we made him really low. Some of humans can take lessons from a donkey because we can't even carry our own load. I mean, the children can definitely, because when you tell the children to carry the bags in the shopping center, they just say, my hand's hurting, my back's hurting, my legs are hurting, I've got a headache. And so maybe we can tell them the stories of the donkey where he carries the bags for his master and he brings them home. So maybe that can encourage them. I mean, the Arabs are laughing, they're like, how can we educate our kids on these names? But alhamdulillah, if you don't have these names in the house, you don't have to really explain them. But imagine if someone does have a name, Batta. So how would that kid, let alone our kids are being bad for the names they have, with the names very quickly. We have Arab kids, the name is Omar. We all bring, Omar, you're Omar. You know what they say in the school? Uma. And I'm like, what? It's Omar. And then you have a name, Jafar. And then all these names, and then you have the name Ali. And so all these names, and these are our Arab kids who cannot say these names. And something we can tell them. I mean, my favorite is Uma. And this is like, Omar is a simple name. It requires less stress to the tongue, Omar. But when you say Uma, and actually you're going to move your lips forward and then you're going to bring them back again in the same place. And even if Omar heard this, he probably would come out with the whip and start whipping the one who called him Uma. So, alhamdulillah, Omar's not around. Or else Omar radiallahu anhu, as you know, you don't want to be in the Khilafah of Omar. Everyone was alif in the Khilafah of Umar. There was no ya. But as soon as his Khilafah was over, then we had ya, ba, tha, jim, everything. The only letter was heard and seen in his Khilafah. And that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Umar is like a door for this ummah. When he dies, this door will break and open for fitna. And that's who Umar was. And if you guys know Umar, a man with high stature, even his body, even how tall he was. The Seerah describes when Omar came far distance, if he was walking next to a rider, people will think he's riding a horse. But when he came close, he was walking with the rider. Imagine a man sitting on a horse is in line with Omar, who's actually walking with him. So the ones who think they're tall, try to break that one. And so he was, and that's why when in the Seerah, the dua of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was for Amr ibn Hashim, which is Abu Jahl, and the other one was Umar ibn Khattab. He asked for one Umar. And Allah gave him Umar ibn Khattab because there was khair in his heart. And there was no khair in Amr. And even when we're going fast track, Amr ibn Hashim was actually Abu al-Hukum. He was not Abu Jahl. Everyone knew him a father of wisdom in Mecca. And Rasulullah said, a man who cannot understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's Jahl. He's not Hukum, he's not Hakam. This guy cannot even comprehend who Allah is. So now, he comes and he wants his camels back, Abdul Muttalib. And Abdul Muttalib is asking that, how can I meet Abraha? And Abraha does not want to deal with anyone. Try and understand, Abraha is now become a tyrant. He's an arrogant person. He wants to destroy the Kaaba. He wants to promote his religion by force, which is Christianity. And he does not want to do anything with these Arabs. And so now Abdul Muttalib goes and he tries to find a way to speak to him. And he goes to Dhu Nafar. And when he gets to Dhu Nafar, he says, how can I possibly meet him? Can you get me a meeting with Abraha? And he says, how can I do it? I'm a prisoner. But he says, I can help you. There is a man that Abraha is very close to. And this man is Unais, the guy who is the trainer of the elephant. And he is very close to him and he keeps a close attention with this man. And so what I can do for you is to speak to Unais and he can get you a meeting. And at this point, Abraha meets Abdul Muttalib, and this is one of the greatest moments. It is said he's sitting on his throne. These kings, Najashis and Qaisars and Kisra, when they went, wherever they went on a throne. And they went with a court. Like wherever they went, they would set their thrones up and they would talk to people as if they were the leaders. And this is how Abraha was. When Abdul Muttalib entered, it is said by Ibn Ishaq says he was so handsome. He was a striking personality. As soon as Abraha saw him, he came and he sat down with Abdul Muttalib. And I gave you an example last week. You have many people in your lives that you see. When you see them, you want to give them ihtaram. When you see them, you want to give them honor. When you see them, you want to give them respect. It's from your heart it comes. As Allah puts it in your heart, whenever you see someone, you just want to bow down. It's not bow down it's to worship for ibadah. It's just for, you're giving them ihtaram and you want to be with them. And this is what Abraha does. He comes down and he sits down with him. And when he sits down with him, he says, what do you want? What can I do to you? For you. And he says, I want my camels. And Abraha is angry. He said, you come for the camels? I gave you respect. I came down. I thought you were going to ask me something big or that save us, please don't do anything to us. He said, I am the master of my camels. And Allah is the master of his house. So my job is to protect my camels and Allah will protect his house. And at that point, Abraha gets very angry. But even Abraha still has some respect for him. And he says, I advise you to go back and tell your people to empty the town, because tomorrow morning we will come and we will destroy the city. And so Abdul Muttalib, after he gets his camels, he goes back into the town and he tells everyone, And also understand, Abdul Muttalib is the undisputed leader of Quraysh, of Makkah, and there's no other leader who's actually, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was Abu Sufyan and other people. There was still, the 3 or 4 tribal leaders when it came to Shura. But in the time of Abdul Muttalib, he was the undisputed leader. Whatever he said went. And Abdul Muttalib says to everyone that we have to empty the town. This tyrant is coming and he will destroy everything. So what we should do, we should take our families, our belongings and go into the hills. So if you guys have been to Makkah, Makkah is a very hot and really dry and a hilly area. There's a lot of hills around it. But now, thanks to the regime, they have cut a lot of hills and they've made a lot of hotels out of it where you can hardly see any hills. But you still have some mountains here and there where you can see them. But thanks to the regime or whoever they are, I forgot their name now. I've got a short-term memory as well. I don't remember the names of the leaders sometimes. And that's very convenient as well. So, having said that, they go out in the hills and they watch in the night. And also understand this is the time, and I told you last week, that Arabs would recognize their months and their years by an incident that happened in a particular year. And this was a month, according to Ibn Ishaq, 55 days to 50 or to 55 days, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born. So this is the month of Muharram, and Abraha has come to Mecca to destroy the Kaaba. And Rasulullah will be born within 2 months, and he will be born in the month of Rabiul Awwal. That's why there's a lot of accounts. Some say 3rd, some say 9th, some say 12th, and there's many accounts. To be on the safe side, just say he was born on Monday. Another, to be on the safe side, to say he died on Monday as well, as we all know. We don't know the date, and so he was born in the year of elephant, and the month was Rabiul Awwal. Actually, Imam Baghawi mentions a very different opinion. He says he was not born in the month of Rabiul Awwal. He actually mentioned that he was born in the month of Rajab. So the ulama have many opinions when it comes to, and that's why it is safe that, and not to disturb anyone's emotion, not to disturb that. But personally, it's safe not to celebrate his birthday, or else you'll be celebrating his birthday throughout the year, and that'll be very expensive. So in safe side is not to celebrate the birthday. And with our kids, we know, thanks to the Western countries, they've got these birth certificates. Rasulullah did not have one of those. None of the Sahaba had those, which were safe afterwards. But we all know when we were born. Even my father does not know when he was born. In my country, if you don't know when you were born, you know what's the date of birth? The 1st of the 1st and the year. Everyone's born on the 1st of the 1st. I've looked at my grandfather, he was born on the 1st of the 1st. My grandmother was born on the 1st of the 1st. Allah, mashallah, that's a very good coincidence. So this is something that happens. So I think that the best, as I said, the best option is to avoid expensive birthdays for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We celebrate his birthday every day by sending salawat and salam and Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad. And that's why that is like celebrating his birthday. And you get ashara, khayrat for doing something. When you say Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad, you get 10 good deeds for that as well. So now they are waiting in the mountain, and now the surah starts. And this is now difference of opinions will come where how the birds look like. The boy over here, mashallah, mentioned that they were carrying these rocks. And so when the army was coming with the Mahmud, the elephant, and he came all the way very close to Kaaba, that's where Nawfal ibn Habib al-Khathumi, if you remember the second person, he gets free from the chains and he comes in front of Mahmud and he yells. that, Mahmud, what are you doing? This is the house of Allah. Would you want to be destroyed, the first one, if you go close to the house of Allah and be that? And at that point it is said that how the elephant, the camels kneel down, the elephant kneel down. I've never seen personally myself elephant kneel down, but the elephants do kneel down. And so the elephant actually kneeled down and it did not move. Now it is said, everyone is trying to push the elephant. And they've got these spears and they're poking it, they're stabbing it for the elephant to get up. And Unais comes and Abraha, they're all trying to do that, but he doesn't. But when Unais tells him to face Yemen, he stands up and he starts walking. When he tells him to face the east, he stands up and he starts walking. When he tells him to face west, he stands up and he starts walking. But when he tells him to face Kaaba, he goes and he sits down again, he does not move. And this is the miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so at that point, the Nawfal ibn Habib, he runs away and he finds refuge in the hills and he sets free from this army. And at that point now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in the surah that أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. You know, they ask about this army of elephant that came. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I told you, that elephant was that symbol. And Allah made him that symbol for this surah as well. And even the surah is named Feel, is Suratul Feel. But actually the work will be done by Ababil. And these are the birds. And Ababil, according to Abdullah ibn Abbas in Tafsir, he says flock. A lot of birds coming together. And that's Tayr and Ababil. That's what he says in Tafsir. And in Tafsir there's great details for this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. That Allah made their plot. You know, Allah destroyed their plot. Allah made their plot go astray. And it was just, yes.
People would just punch something.
That's right. No, he wanted to say something, and I know he knows the story. He's just a bit shy. So, what happens is now, the birds that are coming, they're carrying 3 stones. Abdullah ibn Abbas mentions the smallest of the stones is the size of a human head. Size of a human head. That's mentioned in the books of Tafsir. Some ulama say no, they were little stones. They were not stones, they were clay, they were baked clay. And this is what, when I read the surah, I'll explain you. So basically they're carrying 3, 2 in their feet and 1 in their beaks. And they're coming like a cloud, like an overcast. When you see the rain is coming, when clouds are coming, it's an overcast. So Abraha's army, when they're dealing with this elephant, they see in the sky, something is coming. It's a dark cloud that is coming. It's not a dark cloud. And that's when they find out. It is mentioned when the stone came down and it hit them, it would separate flesh and burn it and separate it from the bones. It would completely, incarcerate them, and the flesh would separate from the bones and burn. And the bones would just stay, would remain. And so this was their punishment. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning, وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. So we mentioned that Allah actually sent. They were sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were coming in flocks. And they were it could be a massive overcast that was coming. And then تَرْمِيهِمْ بِهِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ. So striking with sijil actually means baked clay. Something that's really hard and clay, as you know, is soft, but this is baked. And this is modeling, it's something like modeling clay. If you guys know what modeling clay is, and it becomes very hard after you model it. Becomes even harder than a stone. You know, we were making Safa and Marwa in one of the projects in the school for year 4 last year. And it was my bad that I read somewhere modeling clay was good. It was really good to work with, but after it was completed, it became like a brick. It's so strong. If you don't like someone, if you chuck that modeling clay on someone, you probably would be happy if it got him at the right spot. Probably, you know, it would slice him like ababil, I think. I mean, that would happen. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ كَعَسْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. This is now, Allah says that He made them like, you know, the ulama mentioned this, that this is exactly like when the animals chew on something, you know, the cows, when they chew on straw, and they don't completely eat it, and they spit that out, and whatever's left on the ground. And this is what ulama say, that this is what Allah means by this ayah. That's how they were. So I told you that flesh and bones were separated. So their bones were lying down. And this was the punishment of those tyrants. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to them. And now, brothers and sisters, really, we are surrounded by many worries. Many things are happening in our lives. This story is an encouragement for us. If we are strong on our iman, and if we are strong and holding on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah's help will come. Allah may not send ababil, but Allah's hidden help will come in order to help us. What we need to do is we need to be firm on our iman. We need to not be overpowered, and we don't have to give in. Whatever the fundamental of Islam is, we have to stand up with that. If you look at the story, Abdul Muttalib, he was firm on iman. And that's why we say, tie your camel and then have trust in Allah. You know, when they say that, I want to do this, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked, we come to salah, and we come on our camels on our rides. So what do we do if salah has started, or it's a time for salah? He said to tie your camel and then come. So what it means, you do your part and then leave it upon Allah, and Allah will look after you. So for example, we have many people, and I love this Australian word, dole bludger. I mean, we don't have this in UK, dole bludger. There's someone who's on social security. So basically, these are the people, they say, oh, whatever Allah has written for me is coming. Actually, they're not tying their camels. You have to go and find work. You have to work, you have to strive. And then Allah will provide you. And if you're not doing any of those things, and you're saying, my rizq will come to me, then Allah will musta'an them. So now, it was many bones to collect. The tafsir Tabari mentions some people made it back to Yemen, and they picked up the body, the desecrated body of Abraha, and they took it back to Yemen where they came from. And the story is also mentioned by the Christian historians in their books. It's not something that the Muslims speak about. It's not something that the Muslims harp on. It's also mentioned in Britannica, that mentioned by English historians, they mention Abraha. Because Negus is something which it belongs to Christianity. And so they knew who this king was and how he came to this region. And so what happens is, they carry his body back, and whatever is left over there, as you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a flood, rain, and He wiped up all those bones and the leftovers of this army, because these Arabs, how would they clean up and all this? And it was all wiped up from that flood that came. And this is mentioned again, we don't know how strong these riwayas are, but again, remember Ibn Hisham, Ibn Ishaq, At-Tabari, and also Ibn Kathir, they all mention these riwayas, that the flood came and it got rid of the bones. Now, going back, they went there, and now his son becomes the leader, Yaqsoon ibn Abraha, and after some time he dies, and then his another son he has, Masruq, he becomes the leader of Yemen, Masruq ibn Abraha. Tomorrow, not tomorrow inshallah, next Friday, we will look into one of the descendants of Yemen who wants to get rid of the Habashis, so he goes all the way to Persia, and how the Persian rule comes to Yemen. If you guys know very quickly, and I'm going to finish off here, if you guys know when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became the leader of Arabia, at that time in Yemen, it was the rule of Isra, and the leader was Bazan, and Bazan was a fire worshipper, like the Persians are. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam invited Bazan to Islam, and he became a Muslim. And so this is what we're going to talk about, and then in the next session inshallah. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.